Waramimiriga, my name is Charmaine Lewis. I'm a proud Bundjalung woman, I'm an illustrator, and I'm an ambassador with the Australian Literacy and Numeracy Foundation. I'm here on Darug and Gundungurra country. This is where I live in the Blue Mountains, and I am speaking some Darug with you. Waramimiriga means hello friends. While I was looking out of my studio window this morning, I noticed something beautiful on country. I noticed that this time of year, wattle comes out to bloom. Wattle in Darug is Waranguli, so the Darug word for wattle is Waranguli. And I was captivated by its beautiful golden yellow colour. And I thought to myself, perhaps I could show you my approach with illustration and my connection to country, because when I think about connecting to this country where I live, I think about connecting with colour. The colour on our country is so unique and so beautiful that I want to celebrate it with an illustration. Now, illustration requires visual literacy. Our job as illustrators is to tell a story with our art. So come with me as I tell a bit of a story about Darug country and about what I like to celebrate about it in my studio. So grab some art materials. I'm going to go and do the same. And let's meet in my studio and we can make some art. Okay, so I've headed into my local Officeworks. They've got a great range of art supplies. Emily and Talia, they were really helpful and they pointed me in the direction of soft pastels. I use soft pastels a lot, and when you use these, you will also need a kneadable eraser. They get very messy, but lots of fun. I'm also picking up some masking tape. I'll get to that in a moment. And I should mention that I'm easily distracted by all things bright and colourful. I had a lot of fun perusing the aisles. Now, tonal paper, I've picked up some of that as well. It's really great to work with because it's not a blank surface. And here I am back at my studio. We are about to get creating. Look at that bag. I should mention too, it is a blackfella belief that we do not bring wattle in the house. It's bad luck. I've got my paper, pastels, tape, kneadable eraser. Let's get going. Now, I mentioned masking tape. Masking tape can create a really nice frame to work in. I usually measure up when I'm working on a book, but today for this art lesson, we're just going to start off with a rectangle. This will define the space that we're working in. I've got some colours selected and I'm going in with my lightest pastel and I'm just capturing all of those leaves that were bursting from that wattle bush, that waranguli. I want those shapes. And what you might notice is I've started off with large leaves. This is at the foreground. And they're getting smaller as they move back to the middle ground. And that's because I want to create some depth in this artwork. Now, these rough outlines will be coloured over, and that's okay. It's just to give us an idea of where things are going. Now, I'm going in with the background. The background is the clear and crisp blue sky. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. And I'm pressing my pastels into this paper. I'm creating a lot of dust because I want that beautiful, rich pigment to cover the paper. Here I go. If only I could work this quickly usually. Now, to give some depth to that beautiful crisp blue sky, I'm choosing a lighter blue. What you might notice when you look out on the horizon is the sky usually isn't just a flat colour. And I want to create that sense that there is light bending in the atmosphere. That's kind of what I'm doing. I'm going for a little bit of realism here. Now, this is the fun part, getting messy. I'm pressing that soft pastel into the paper, I'm blending it, and unlike other painting where you might mix colours on a palette, the colour mixing all kind of happens on the paper as you go. And I like that because an image starts to emerge. As I said, things get really dusty when you're working with soft pastel. I'm blowing the excess off the paper and I'm blowing it in a particular direction. because I'm controlling where that colour falls. I want that to be a little bit more lighter, so I'm also going to go in with some white pastel now, super quickly. And this is like when you add white paint to a colour that you're using, just to give it that lightness. I'm feeling happy with that colour and that ombre effect, I guess. So now I want to go into the background of the wattle, the Waranguli, and I want to create some depth, and so I'm choosing a dark green colour. It's kind of green, kind of olive, and it's going to be those shadowy spaces between the leaves. To give it some more depth, I'm going in with a darker brown colour. Now that green and that brown are going to blend beautifully to create that depth. I want more darkness in the background, so I'm taking yet again another brown colour. And that's the thing with soft pastels. You can play around with the colours and they will blend beautifully, and you can see how they appear on the paper. Now, I've chosen this beautiful bright green to start bringing back those shapes of those leaves. And the reason I've chosen this really bright green is because I want it to pop against that dark, shadowy background. I want those leaves to really stand out, because remember, that sky is really blue. It means the sun is really bright. Our light source in our image is really bright. And so those leaves are going to pop against all of that shadow. So what you'll notice as well is that the leaves are changing size. And I'm doing this because not all leaves appear the same size. When we're looking at something real and to create that depth, I want some bigger ones at the front, they're up close. I want some smaller ones that might be poking through underneath. And then I want some smaller ones in the background. Now what I'm doing here is I don't want that flat green colour. I'm using a different colour green to give this bush some variation. And now that I've got my green sitting on top of those shadows, I'm noticing that I want a little bit more contrast. Contrast is where we've got a dark shade and a light shade, and I want to create more depth underneath those leaves. So you can do this too. You can play around with it as you go. And what I'm doing, I'm not quite outlining these leaves, I'm just trying to suggest some shadow behind them. So I'm being really, really selective with my black pastel. If I put too much black pastel in this artwork, it's going to become really dark, and I don't want that. I want that nice contrast. Back in with that nice pop of bright green. And I'm adding those tiny leaves that are barely visible in the midground. They're off in the distance, not too far away, just at the edge of the bush. What you notice is I'm always blowing away excess dust. I don't want it to sit on top of my artwork and accidentally get smudged into my picture. So it's important to keep that in mind. And now I'm going in with some detail. I'm starting to map out where I'm imagining that wattle is going to sit in our artwork, in our illustration. So this is forming part of the composition. I'm using some bright yellow now. This is the fun bit, putting in that beautiful Waranguli. And what I'm doing is I'm just drawing little circles at the moment. Lots of little circles in the direction that wattle grows along the branch, or stem perhaps. And what you might notice is it's getting smaller as it reaches the end. So you can do that too. I've chosen to make this one the biggest in this artwork. And what I'm thinking about as well as an illustrator, I'm thinking about leading your eye. Where is your eye going to fall when you look at this artwork? What's capturing your attention the most? And I think playing around with scale in your artwork, it can help tell the story, make something appear real, almost touchable. So right now I'm feeling happy with the wattle that's sitting in the foreground. That's the wattle that's closest to us. And so I want to add some depth in this artwork. I want to make it feel real, like you could almost step into this artwork. And so I'm drawing in some suggestions of wattle, some tiny little yellow dots. And they are wattle that are further away from us. They are in the midground. And so like I said before, with scale, you can create that depth. Things that are really close to us are larger than things that are further away, which appear really small. I've decided to even let that wattle float off into the air. Perhaps that's the suggestion of a light breeze on Darug country. Remember, this is all storytelling with visuals. Now I've chosen a lighter yellow, and the reason for this is because I want the centre of this wattle to burst with light, almost glowing. So what you might notice is that by using these two different colours of yellow, we're creating that glowing effect. You can use this effect in other illustrations as well. Now with this wattle that's appearing really close to us, I want to add a little bit more detail. I want to see those tiny little fibres, and so I'm using some little strokes within that circle just to create that texture. I want you to almost be able to feel that soft fuzziness that Waranguli has. It's really important to review your artwork, to take a moment to stop and look at it and think, am I happy with this? Now I've just noticed that I have some gaps in my composition. My composition is where I'm placing things in my artwork. And I've decided that I want some more wattle really close to us in this artwork. So I'm adding it in. I'm using that same technique as before, adding in those soft, fuzzy fibres, because I want consistency in this artwork as well. Now, while I'm making this artwork, I'm thinking, this to me looks like Waranguli on Darug Nura, wattle on Darug country. But I also want to put myself in this artwork. I want to tell a story about me in this artwork too, and you can do that as well. Now, I'm a Bundjalung woman, and so Bundjalung totem is a butterfly, Bundjalam. So I've decided that this artwork is the perfect setting to put a little Bundjalam, a little butterfly from Bundjalung country, floating across Darug country, visiting that Waranguli. And this is where your artwork can start to tell a story. Because remember, there is art, but then there is illustration. And in picture books, illustration requires a story. Great. So I'm looking at this now and I'm feeling satisfied. I can see Darug Nura, Darug country. I can see a Bundjalam, a butterfly from Bundjalung country. And it's really important to know when to stop. So with your artwork, have a think about where you are happy with it, where it is telling that story, because sometimes we can go too far. Now, to set the pastel dust, I'm spraying some fixative. I had some in my studio, but you can pick this up at Officeworks as well. And don't worry, the colour changes, but it dries and the colours return. So there is my Bundjalam on Darug Nura with Waranguli. Oh, and this is the fun bit. Carefully remove your tape, and you will have a nicely framed artwork and a really satisfying result. Be careful not to rip it. I do this by keeping it really close to the paper as I peel it back. And now for that kneadable eraser. It's going to pick up any of that pastel that we blew away during our art making. It's just going to tidy up the paper a little bit. When you're feeling like your artwork is complete, the final touch is signing it. Every artist needs to sign their work. And here is my story of being on Darug Nura, on Darug country, with the Waranguli. And now you can stand back and admire your visual storytelling. I wonder what stories are within your art. Oh dear. I hope that you enjoyed that, coming into my studio and making some art with me, doing some visual storytelling. I've cleaned myself up a little bit. Pastel dust gets everywhere when you make art with pastel. I wonder whether you find a connection with country as well. Perhaps you can go out on country and learn about the country that you are on and find a connection with it, something that is warada, which is Darug for beautiful. I hope that you enjoyed that art practice, and I hope that you continue to read books. Literacy is freedom. Shape your own futures, keep making art, keep sharing story, and keep connecting and caring with country. Digirigura, Yanu, goodbye.